Good morning. How's everybody doing today? I am Jennifer Sells. I am located in Denver, Colorado. And Autumn and the Agent Collective have invited me back to talk to you again today. And so, one of the things I kind of want to get into is the current market and how we're overcoming things. And you know, what what are our challenges and how are we going to get over them? Because I truly believe in a phrase that is what you focus on expands. Well, the more you are hit with the sky is falling, the more you think the sky is falling. And so, how do we get beyond that? And I really have been thinking about that quite a bit because in our business, it's feast or it's famine, right? It's winter and we're starving and we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do Christmas? How are we going to make our bills? Even the most seasoned agents sometimes feel like this. And then sometimes we get into a season where we have so many listings, we can't keep up. And so I put a lot of thought into that the last week. And I truly believe that it comes down to what we're focusing on. The more we listen to negativity, the more negativity enters our, realm. And, honestly, even as a producing agent, I struggled a little bit over last winter, and I think all of us did. And right now, today, I have 14 physically signed listings. I have 3 that are signing within the next week. And then I have 6 that I'm either going on listing appointments with, or they're in the air, or they haven't decided when they're going to list and when they're not going to list. And so part of my discussion today is, how did I pull myself out of that rut? And how did I start getting all of these listings? And I truly, truly believe that it comes to my focus, what I'm focusing on. So right now I am in this hyper focused list, and take out as many buyers as I possibly can. I think buyers right now, probably against everybody else's belief system, but I think buyers right now are absolutely the easiest transaction beyond listing. Listings right now, depending on your area, but especially here in Denver and in Colorado, every day I'm having to send out an email or an update or a communication of some sort to my clients. This is how many homes are on the market. This is how many went under contract. This is what your competition is. This is how you're priced in comparison. And then I'll pull like the showing time report that talks about how they feel my listing is doing a comparison to other like listings. So I'll send that out, right? But anyways, back to it before I digress. What you focus on expands. So I literally had to get myself out of the news. I had to turn off the news completely. I had to unsubscribe from the real estate mastermind and lab coat agents, because the only thing that you ever see on those sites is negativity. The sky is falling. The market is crashing. Don't be a buyer's agent. Don't be a listing agent. Don't do this. Don't do that. But they never tell you how to overcome it, right? So that's what I want to talk about today, is focusing on the things that matter and money-making activities and getting ahead. So let me run over this. Okay, so, I've been on this agent collective call a few times, and we always go over, some of the market issues. So we have economic uncertainty. We have political uncertainty. We have job market concerns. We have increased days on the market, right? We have higher inventory levels in our market. So one of the things I think is really important here is instead of getting into all of that and getting so wrapped up into it, change your mindset into every single person has to have shelter. They have to have shelter, period. So they're either going to go out and rent or they're going to buy. And you have to tell that to your sellers as well. Dear Mr. Seller, yes, we have 22 listings within, 1 mile radius between, 650 and 750, and you want a price at 720, 725. Okay, Mr. Seller, please understand that everyone is dealing with this. And so there's only a few things that you can control. Price, location. Well, you can't control location, but there's price, location, and condition. So what are we going to do to sell your house? Right? And Mr. Seller, everybody has to have shelter, and it only takes one buyer. So when we're taking your listing today, we're going to set realistic expectations. We are not going to think that it's going to sell in the first weekend. And if it does, yay on me, right? I'm the best agent on the whole planet. But we need to change our focus to the things we need to do to get it sold. And we need to change our focus in our heads as agents to, yes, we absolutely can sell your house in this difficult market. Confidence is there. And when you do that and you're having these upfront not confrontations, when you're having these upfront conversations with your seller, your listing periods are going to get a little bit easier. And if you happen to skip a day with communication, they're not going to freak out. The other point to this is, let's say that you do kind of get hung up on something. Let's say you get hung up on interest rates, right? Which is, of course, a big driver in how fast things are going to sell or not sell. And it does affect the buyers and their, desire to go out into the community and look for houses. So instead of getting too focused on that, I'm going to tell you to go meet with 2 or 3 or 4 different lenders, depending on your loyalty levels. If you have one that you only work with, fine. Go to that lender, sit down, turn on the camera, and literally have a conversation about the market and about interest rates and things that buyers can do to get the home that they want. In other words, talk to your lender and say, what kind of programs are out there for first-time home buyers? When you're seeing buyers right now, when you're seeing contracts roll into your office, Mr. or Mrs. Lender, what are you seeing in concessions, right? How do we get the rate down? What's the difference between a 2-1 buy down and a permanent buy down? And have these conversations with your lender and video them, and then use that in content so that you can get more buyers, right? Instead of focusing on the negative, focus on the solution is what I'm trying to say. So I often do this with my buyers. They'll say, I don't know, my dad says not to buy right now because rates are just out of control and there's so much inventory and the housing market's going to crash. And so I just say, oh, that's an interesting perspective. So let me ask you something. And they always give me the same look. So when the housing market crashes, where are you going to live? Oh, well, I'm going to be in a rental. Well, what do you think the rental rates are going to do when the housing market crashes? And it's always silent, right? Because they know that the interest rates are, not the interest rates, the rental rates are going to go up because the housing market has gone down and everybody's renting. So it's an incredible rental market. And I'm like, do you have control over your payments as a rental? Yes or no? And then I say, in Denver, and if you're watching this, I suggest you go back in history into your town and your city and you figure out these stats, right? So in 2008, here in the Denver metro market, we had the bailout, right? Well, everybody had the bailout, but housing was at it was bad, right? So the values were dropping. Didn't drop much, but they were dropping and people couldn't buy and it was chaos and mayhem. Anyways, from 2009, 2010, we didn't appreciate. We actually kind of went down a little bit. And so people always bring this up as buyers and they're like, well, I'm going to wait for the housing market to crash and then I'm going to buy. And I say, what happened in 2011 here in Denver? Well, I don't know. Well, let me tell you. In 2011, so 2.5 years after the 2008 crash, we recovered at minimum 2008 values. Most areas in the Denver metro area jumped above 2008. So in that 2.5-year period, that was when buyers should buy, even at the higher interest rate, even at, even if there's a struggle to buy, that's when buyers should have bought. Because then in 2011, it would have been at 2008 levels or above. In 2012, 2013, 2014, areas like Castle Rock in the south end of Denver, just relate it to your city, areas in Castle Rock in the south of Denver, they were appreciating at 14%, 16%. And, finally they leveled off and they were only appreciating at 8% a year. And then in 2019 and 2020, we went back to 16% gains. It was insane, right? So if you're waiting for the market to crash and you're not buying in a buyer's market, right? Everybody else is going to jump in when it starts to improve and you're going to be competing, you're going to be paying more and you're going to be paying on the upslope. So I suggest to all my buyers, hey, if you're nervous about the market right now, it's probably a good time to buy, even if it does go down a little bit. Traditionally, in the Denver metro area or the Colorado area, we appreciated an average of 6% a year. So my point to all of this is to take all of these things that are in the news, that are negatives, that are weighing you down, and figure out a way to talk through it so that you can actually get business when other real estate agents are turning in their license. This market right now is the determining market of who will win and who will fail, who will quit. And if you can make it through this market, I promise you, you're going to make it for a very, very long time in this career. Okay. Same thing with jobs, instabilities, same thing with, increased inventory, longer days on the market. Just figure out a way, right? So with my sellers, I'm like, okay, so you got 22 homes that are competing within, 10% of your value. What are you going to do? Well, what does every seller say to you if you're on a listing appointment? They say, well, my house is the best house in the community because I have new windows and I have new roofs and I have refinished floors. You've all heard it. You know what they're going to say, right? So I flip that on them because now I'm to a point where I have so many listings that I'm actually terrified a little bit. And I said this last week to a guy, he wanted to price this house at $725. I looked at him and I said, there's no way that your house is going to sell for $725. Your house might sell for $675. And if I lose that listing today, Mr., then I lose the listing today. And he looked at me a little funny. And I said, look, You're telling me that the man next door sold for $550 because he didn't have an updated roof. He didn't have, updated interior. It was a mess, right? Well, if he made those improvements, his house would sell for $650, right? Or $660. It's a little bit smaller than yours. And I said, so the house that is priced at $700 has been on the market for 90 days, and you're telling me that he needs a roof. So when this house goes under contract, it's been on the market for 90 days now, it's probably going to go on the market. It's probably going to go under contract at $675 or $685, because the longer you're on the market, the lower the offers get. And then the buyer's going to do an inspection, and the buyer's going to ask for said roof, right? Or refinished floors, or, new windows, or whatever it is. So did they get $700 for their property? No. Did they get $675 for their property? No. They got $675 minus the repairs. So they're going to net like somewhere after real estate commissions and repairs, probably in the $625, $630 range. You, Mr. Seller, have everything done. So when you put your house on the market for $675, you're going to get $675 or more. So don't chase the market, right? So it's the same thing. This is the way I flip my scripts. Okay, I see the chat. I forgot to open the chat, so I'm sorry. Okay, I'm glad I'm giving you some value. This is the way I talk to. This isn't like a training for me. This is the way I talk to agents that are in front of me, and they have questions about overcoming things, people on my team, peers in the community, like, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. This is exactly what I would say to them. So I'm literally pretending like you're right in front of me, and I am talking to you on how to achieve business. So any of these subjects, and I'll go back through them: job market, increased inventory, days on the market. So here's another one, right? So this is another objective that I have with the seller: days on the market. Oh my God, I have to be in Louisiana at June 15th to start my job. I need you to get my house sold. Okay. Well, your house is actually the most aggressively priced house, townhome in the area at $425. The other ones are priced at $440, $450, right? And we're offering a $10,000 concession, but we're still not selling. And you want to be out the door into Louisiana by June. What is your breaking point? And I hate asking this question, but what is the absolute bottom dollar that you will take to move? And so I'm actually having this conversation today with one of my clients, because her house is absolutely the best priced house on the market, but she has to be somewhere in June. And I think she's willing to come down 20 or 30 grand. And if she is, then we're just going to take it down. Not because I don't want to give her the most, but because what happens is when you do get down below where buyers expect you to be, that's when you start getting multiple offers. And if you don't get multiple offers, then that's just a market indicator that that's where you're going to have to be priced to sell anyway. So hopefully we'll drop her price down enough that we get a buyer this weekend and she can move by June. So you have to be not afraid to have the conversations either, because, honestly, you and I didn't create this market. So we have to get out of our heads and we have to get out of the feelings, right? I'm not going to make this about men and women, but if you're in this business long enough and you watch and you pay attention, hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this. Men seem to disassociate, the successful agents that I've seen, they seem to disassociate with the emotion of real estate. Women are inherently nurturers, and we always want the best for our client, and we want to make sure that they have a great experience. Of course we do, right? Everybody wants our clients to have a great experience, but You have to get to the point, especially in this market, that you can blatantly tell the truth. And if they don't like it, you can walk away. I'm telling you right now, if you are blatantly obvious without being rude and you tell them the absolute truth and you say, hey, look, I'm carrying X amount of listings. It's at least $2,000, sometimes $4,000, depending on the level of listings I am physically carrying to sell homes right now, times 20. That's a lot of money I have out. So I can't afford to take a listing that won't sell. And I can't afford to take a listing in which you, Mr. Seller, are going to be calling me upset every week. I don't want that. I want this to be a nice and pleasant experience for you. And 99% of the time when I have that attitude, when I'm going into a listing appointment, they like it. Believe it or not. It's totally opposite of my internal belief system to tell somebody, no, I'm not going to take your listing. But for some reason, and I'm sure somebody that's another agent here has done the psychological stuff of this, they will tell you that it's true. People want, sorry, I just had a lead come in, I had to grab it. That they want you to be honest. They don't want you to feed them a line of, I won't say the word. But yeah. So Allison, if you're on here and if you can jump onto the microphone, what was one of the things that you were thinking about, or one of the things that I triggered in the conversation that you liked?
Definitely the working buyers. I was thinking about that because I thought about that a couple weeks ago, and then someone said, no, listings. And I'm like, but listings are costly right now, like you just said. And I like that, this is my time and money. I can't afford to take a non-motivated seller because I have one of those right now, and we're not even a market yet. And it's
Don't be afraid to tell them too. And this is going to go against probably 90% of the coaches out there. But I think honesty is the best route. Mr.
I did. I told him I'd rather let you down now than, I want to give you realistic expectations for what's happening in the market.
Yeah, and use terms like there are numerous agents out there. 76% of the agents in the last 12 months have not sold a listing. So there are numerous agents out there that are willing to buy your listing. Do you know what that means, buying your listing? That means they'll tell you anything to sign your listing. And then every week you're going to get an email and a call or a text or all three that say, oh, look, we're chasing the market. We have to lower the price. We have to lower the price. We have to lower the price. Do you want to hire an agent that's going to tell you that you need to lower your price? Or do you want to hire an agent that's actually going to put money in your pocket? If your payment is $5,000 a month, Mr. Seller, and it takes you 6 months to sell, how much money is that?
That's good because his payment is higher than that.
Okay. So, Mr. Seller, I'm just going to do 5,000 because I can't do math fast. 30 grand. It takes you 6 months to sell. You have now spent 30 grand on a house that you don't want to live in. And Mr. Seller, if you're going to buy, I want you to be honest with me, Mr. Seller. Do you think it's if you get in the buyer mindset, do you think it's a buyer's market right now? And he's going to trip because he wants it to be a seller's market and it's not. And then you say, okay, I'm going to tell you, we're leaning towards a buyer's market right now. And everything that you give up on the sell side, you're going to make up or more on the buy side. So if you come in and you price it $30,000 low and you don't spend 6 months in the market, trying to sell, plus HOA fees, plus insurance, plus watching the house that you really want to go under contract. Take that hit now and then go buy the house that you want. And let's beat the crap out of them with closing costs and offer price and everything. Right. And it may take them a day or two to like really think about it. And sometimes I put it in visual too with a email template right behind it that says what I can't remember what my email template is. I think it's I'll make it up on the other end, right? Yeah. And then it goes through and it talks about like in the challenging market, sometimes we have to lower price to get it sold. But when we go to buy, because it's a challenging market, 99% of the time we're making up that or more on the buy side. So just another strategy that I use. Um, Anything else that I can jump into?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. I'm trying to look for my notes. It went away as soon as my lead came in, right? I had my notes up here. But so what I'm saying, just to recap, is to take all these negativities. Like if you're seeing news, if you're seeing whatever, sit down and write the argument against it. And then say, okay, well, if this is a lender issue, then let's go do like 10 micro, either one long video or 10 micro videos with a lender, or even do them with multiple lenders, because what's cool is the different answers that you get from different lenders, right? And then now you can post that to social media. It's, it's a filler. It's great. And if you aren't too specific about the date, you can just reuse that content forever and ever. And then the other thing is, back to it with my sellers and my buyers. I am taking market trends that come out once a month from the MLS, and I take the market trends and then I put it into an email. I copy it, put it in an Intel source from RE Colorado. I don't know what your MLS is, but do that. And then I send it once a month sorry, can you be quiet? To all of my active buyers and sellers. So it's just another touch. I'm telling you right now, communication is everything. And I'm not perfect. I actually lost a buyer this morning that I was 99.9999% sure that I was meeting next week. Lots of conversations. She was opening up the searches, etc. And I'm hoping that she's confused and thinks it's a different agent that texted her this morning or something. But she was like, no, I'm talking to the seller agent and I have the searches and I'm good. I'm gonna work with them. And I'm like, what is this? Right? Like, so I'm not perfect either, right?
Did you ask her why?
Yeah, she just said that she couldn't open my searches. And I'm like, but I see that they're all open. So I think I'm just going to keep sending her the searches and sending her emails. And hopefully she'll just get confused and come back to me. But yeah, and it could be my fault too, because honestly, I'm going to tell you right now that even when I was selling foreclosures, never had this many listings. Even in 2008, right before the bailout, never had this many listings. So I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to keep which is the topic of this show today, is to keep my mindset right. What I focus on expands. And, I am seeking, opinions from economists. That's another person that you could talk to, and not about the lending, but about the economy. If you could sit down with a local economist, you could have a great show. I'm trying to get this one that I know here in town. He's popular, so I don't know if he'll sit down with me, but yeah. And then if they have any like economic updates with a local economist in your town, I would suggest you go video as much as you can. and like pull those out and then recap it. Because that's what people want to know, right? And then you just have to reassure them that no matter what, you have to have a place to live. And when the market recovers, it's going to recover. So right now it's down a little bit. You can negotiate on interest rates. You can negotiate on price. You can negotiate on appraisals. You can get everything done on your inspection. You can probably offer low, right? But when the market recovers, oh, if we have to pay $50,000 more for this just because interest rates went down to 5, would your payment have been better at 7% or at 5 with $50,000 over? Probably at 7%, and then you own the house and you could refi. Anyways, I could go on forever and ever, but I won't. I hope that everybody's watching today got some sort of value from my discussion. I'm always available by cell phone, text, calls. Just look me up. My name is Jennifer. My last name is Sells. It actually is. I didn't make it up. And reach out to me. I love getting calls from people and answering, questions. So thanks for showing up today, Allison.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.